Yes, the ACC did it. We're going to a 9-game conference schedule, and everybody is going to be better for it.
You are Locked On SMU, your daily podcast on the SMU Mustangs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yeah, you could tell I am excited about that news that dropped yesterday, but welcome to Locked On SMU, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Thanks so much for making me and the rest of our family your first listen of the day. And our episode today is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every single detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is just only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. Coming up on the show today, bye-week goal number 3, numero tres, for what SMU should be trying to accomplish over the week off. And this one's going to be a little bit more depressing. But stay tuned for that. Plus, is the defensive miscues an effort issue? We'll talk about that to close up the show. But let's go ahead and start with this. This came out just the other day. The ACC has agreed to move to a 9-game conference schedule after their meetings in Charlotte earlier this week. Now, I know this news came out on Monday, but because we're in the bye week, I wanted to get through the TCU game and table this for later on in the week. And I do think it's an evergreen topic. So let's go ahead and talk about why this is such a good thing. Number one, everybody's going to be better for it, SMU included, because the more Power 4 games you play, the better your resume has the chance to look. Period, point blank, end of story. Like, that is where we should start with all of this, is that the more Power 4 games you play, you have a more risk reward type of thing. Because you could say, well, we are not going to lose a game when we're playing against, multiple far inferior opponents. But your risk for injury is still there. So if you're going to go out there and subject your body to that sort of contact and those sorts of demands, why not do it against a team that can help you get closer to your goals? That's number one. But ultimately, iron sharpens iron. And I believe that to find out truly where your team is, you got to go up against the people that you are measuring yourself against. You're not measuring yourself against the Missouri States and the East Texas A&Ms of the world. If you see problems, you want them to arise against people that are your equal or better. If you see successes, you want those to be revealed against people who are your equals or better. But then there's also just the fan component of all this. And college football is at its best when it galvanizes the fans together. And the fans want to see and are going to show out to see and bring the energy which permeates to the team when you're playing against noteworthy opponents. I said on my radio show today, I'm recording this right after my radio show. And Oklahoma, and I'm in Norman, I do radio in Norman, Oklahoma. Oklahoma has a game coming up after its bye week against Kent State. And I said this verbatim on the radio. I could not give less of a you-know-what about that game. I really don't. And there's a decent amount of fans that feel like that way. But if you institute an extra conference game and on top of it, introduce another Power 4 game, which is also wrapped up in this whole thing, now all of a sudden, you've got more fan engagement. So you're in a situation now where you have better opportunity for resume enhancement. You have a more clear, defined picture of where you truly are. And you get the fan backing that can be elevated that much more. Those are the 3 points that we have to make here. But when you're going to a 9-game conference slate, and you're going to add one more Power 4 game, so now you have a 12-game schedule, and you have 10 Power 4 games. Remember, this is a sport with no preseason. So how I have always said this should be, you get one far inferior opponent, maybe an FCS opponent, play a group of 5 opponent, and then 10 Power 4 games. I think that is the perfect way to schedule. And college football is moving forward in the right direction. I know everybody wants to say, well, it might have been better in the BCS days when people weren't getting paid and there wasn't a transfer portal. The more I think about going back to those days, the less I want to do with them. In the last few years, we have seen college athletes with some money in their pocket, some of them exorbitant amounts of dollars. We see that you can rebuild and restructure your roster and then at the same time re-energize your fan base because of a restructured roster due to the transfer portal. Sure, it hurts some, but it helps a whole lot, and it helps a lot more of the teams that we actually watch, by the way. And the College Football Playoff Committee has said, we are going to weigh who you play. And we want to do it in your favor in terms of how we view your resume for entrance into the final field of 12 and ultimately 16 when it goes there. So college football has done those 3 things so spectacularly right. And because of all that, now we can get to every team playing 10 Power 4 teams. We win. The ultimate winners are us. And when I say us, I don't talk about me and my colleagues that cover the sport. No. I'm talking about us as college football fans. We win. SMU fans, we win. And if you want to shrink this down to the ACC, in terms of SMU potentially coming out and winning it, don't you want to play more games against the conference so you truly know who's the best team in the conference? Like the more the conference goes up against each other, the more we start to actually realize, who actually is the best. And this is also, the need for this has also been heightened because the conferences keep expanding. So you want to be able to play at approaching half to even more than half the conference. If you can play more than half the conference, you're in a really good shape. You are in a good spot. So all of the changes in college football, all of them have moved us in a positive direction. But to me, you get a greater chance to enhance your resume. You get a really clearer picture of where you are. Because think about it, as it pertains to SMU. Think about it. Do we really know the pass defense is that bad going up against Texas A&M Commerce and Missouri State? No. But throw Sawyer Robertson and Josh Hoover on the field with SMU's defense. Now all of a sudden, we've got an issue. So you see, that's how you can really start to pick up on where our issues are, where our deficiencies are, where we really got to improve. Because if SMU played 3 games against scrubs and only 1 game against Baylor, we still would only have 1 game to go off of where the pass defense didn't really look that great. Now, we may have already projected that it wasn't going to look that great, and that's all fair and good. But instead of 1 where you can say, okay, maybe it's a one-off, we've got 2, and we're like, nope, this is not a one-off. This has the possibility of becoming a trend. Everything gets better when the best teams play the best teams. Everything is better. The entire environment of college football has won with these moves. This was from the article on ESPN from Andrea Adelson. The ACC is now the last league to play a 9-game league schedule. The Big Ten and the Big 12 have already been doing it. The SEC made the move to do it as well about a couple of months ago, I believe, maybe a month and a half ago. But now all of a sudden, everybody's going to play 10 Power 4 games, and we're all on an equal playing field, and we all win, including us, the fans. So I know we're on a bye week, but that's what I wanted to start the show off with today. We all win. SMU wins. The ACC wins. Everybody involved with college football and everybody who watches college football wins in this new resolution. Coming up next, bye week goal number 3. What do I want to see from special teams? Oh, God, you're going to hate this. Come back with us. It's almost the weekend, thank the Lord. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's go ahead and break this down. Now, I'm going to go outside of SMU and go to Oklahoma, where I was at the Oklahoma-Auburn game that a lot of you watched this weekend. And John Mateer, man, when it mattered most, homie took Oklahoma down the field and scored the go-ahead touchdown. 22-17 was the score. Oklahoma's defense caps it off with a safety. But it was John Mateer who, when it mattered most, delivered. No hesitation and no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, by the way, he's done this a couple of times now. And just like John Mateer delivered for Oklahoma, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you can save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive and fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period runs through November the 18th. We're also brought to you today by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if the bet wins, you can receive $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It makes every game just that much more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup, or if you hate watching another team, because we know we like to hate watch sometimes. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Back here on Locked On SMU, I'm Grayson Singleton. Thanks so much for listening. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Click the notification bell so you'll be notified whenever we release new content. And for those of you listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, we appreciate you just as much. Okay, bye week goal number 3. And if you missed Tuesday and Wednesday's episodes, I'm going to rewind for you. Bye week goal number 1, Kevin Jennings healthy and get him reset. Bye week goal number 2, which was yesterday's episode. Defense needs to settle in. Just settle into your new roles. You got guys coming back from injury. Everybody just needs to settle in, and things can get better, especially once you have some sort of developed continuity. So that was bye week goals 1 and 2. Bye week goal number 3, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. You need to figure out this damn kicker situation. This is bad, what's going on. And when you're going up against Power 4 teams, and the reason I started off our show talking about going forward, you're going to be playing 10 Power 4 games, is because when you play nip and tuck competition, sometimes the things that can turn the tide are special teams. And look, they haven't fumbled kickoffs. They haven't fumbled a bunch of punts or anything. The punting has been good enough. The kicking has been an unmitigated disaster for SMU. And I don't need to give you the numbers for you to know this, but I will. Between Sam Keltner and Colin Rogers, SMU is 2 for 6 on field goals. Through 4 games, the SMU Mustangs are 2 for 6. 2 for 7, actually. Let me make that worse. 2 for 7 on field goal attempts. Sam Keltner is 1 for 3. Colin Rogers is 1 for 4. Guys, it's terrible. Colin Rogers has missed both his kicks from 50 plus. Sam Keltner has missed both his kicks in the 40 to 49 range. Colin Rogers has also missed a kick. You guys will remember when this one happened. He's 0 for 1 from 30 to 39. And again, you guys will remember when that kick happened. Guys, this is bad. This is atrocious what's going on. And if SMU doesn't get this nonsense figured out, I don't know how many ACC games you win. I'm just being real. And right now we're in a world with SMU where the defense is not getting it done. We hope they can improve. to buy the offense a little bit more margin for error. But if it doesn't, and you're in a situation where you need to put either 7 or 3 on the board on every single drive down the field, you have to have a reliable kicker. You just got to. And look, if your kicker is over from the 30 to 39 range, I mean, you're cooked. I mean, unreliable kicking plus leaky faucet defensively equals, I don't know what it equals, but it's nothing good. It is not good. And SMU's kickers need to take a step back and figure out whether it's technique or discontinuity with the holders. Is there issues on the operation? Is it just something? Or look, or we need to figure out if they're just bad. And we just got to go with the one that is less bad. But regardless of what the issue is, SMU does not play this weekend, and then they host Syracuse the weekend after. You have, from the time this is being released, 10 days to figure this out. Well, I guess 9 days. You have 9 days to figure this thing out because this is unacceptable. For a team that went to the college football playoff a year ago, this sort of special teams output just is not good enough. Last year, Colin Rogers, who, by the way, came in, some picked to be the all-ACC place kicker. Last year, Colin Rogers was 24 of 33. Not the greatest in the world, but suffices. He was 7 for 11 from 50 plus, 8 for 11, 40 to 49, was automatic 30 to 39, and somehow missed 2 kicks from inside 30. Not really sure. Also keep this in mind too, and I've neglected to mention this when we've talked about Colin Rogers in the past. As he has kicked more field goals, his accuracy has decreased every single year. Made 80% of his kicks in 2022, 16 of 18. Made 74% of his kicks in 2023, 20 of 27. Made 72.7% of his kicks last year. Okay, so maybe shame on me for not seeing that one, but whatever it is, they've got to figure it out. I mean, but you were 24 of 33, and of the 9 misses, 4 of them came from 50 plus, and the other 4 came, or 3, and another 3 came from 40 to 49. And I know kicking in college is trickier than kicking in the NFL because of the wider hash marks. I get that, but it's got to be better. You cannot expect SMU to be a team that contends for the ACC championship game if they cannot kick. And right now, you are, 2 for 7 in the kicking game? You are 2 for 7 in the kicking game right now. You, by definition, cannot kick. It just doesn't happen. Name me a conference contender, a national championship contender, a Super Bowl contender, a contender for anything on the level of football if you cannot kick. It just isn't going to happen because too many of these games against elite talent, Power 4 talent, conference talent, too many of these games are decided within 5 points. You have to be able to make your kicks. And look, am I going to berate Colin Rogers for missing a 50-plus yarder in the Baylor game to send it to overtime? No, I'm not. There's too much margin for error in college football, again, because of the wider hash marks. I understand that. But the one from inside, the one against Baylor in overtime, man, inexcusable. Inexcusable. There's a difference between teams whose special teams is an asset and whose special teams is an adventure. These are 2 different classes of teams, and you got to figure it out. But what you cannot do as the season progresses is waffle between 2. You got to figure it out. Is it Sam Keltner? Is it Colin Rogers? Do we have a third option? That has to be figured out between now and the time SMU plays Syracuse. Otherwise, this season could go down the drain quickly. They have got to figure this out. Coming up next, are there effort issues with SMU's defense? Find out on the other side. We'll close up shop. Coming up next. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward, I think, has to go to Kevin Jennings, man. And Kevin Jennings did all he can to will SMU to a victory over TCU. Obviously, the effort fell short, but you cannot put that on Kevin Jennings. He took shots. He drove down the field. Ultimately, it just wasn't enough. But that dude came to play all throughout the game and didn't turn the ball over until it was desperation time. So that's a guy that's going to keep you in games and will put the cape on from time to time as well. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, let's close up shop talking about the defense once again. And I found this article on the On3 website covering SMU on the Pony Express. And it was written by Hayden Howerton, one of the newer members on the SMU beat. And going through the TCU game and what he wanted to see during the bye week. And I came across this paragraph. And it got me going back through a couple of things that SMU's defense struggled with. Howerton said, quote, "I am seeing an epidemic of low effort. Defensive coordinators always harp that great things happen when you run to the football. However, SMU's defense has seemed to lack a sense of urgency to chase the football through the first 4 games, as I'm seeing a measly jog in the direction of the ball rather than the swarm that characterized last year's unit. It's not just defense. Special teams play has seen some of this bleed over as well," end quote. And look, defense is 1-2. No matter what sport you play, defense is 1-2. And I think this is an appropriate topic during the bye week because the bye week is when people take a lot of stock of what they have put on tape through the first however many games preceding your bye week. And I think if a lot of guys look at this, I can say this as a former athlete, when you put things on tape and you see low effort and loafing and not giving 110%, dudes are competitive, and that makes them sick. You may not see it. You may not sense that you're doing it in game, but if you watch it back on tape and you look at it, you're like, oh my God, that's how I look? That's got to be better. And I mean, it's just as simple as effort and want to, man. And this is part of the reason why I think it's absurd that for anybody to say Scott Simons is wholly culpable of the de-evolution of the defense. Now, has he come up short in certain spots? Absolutely he has. Yes, he has. I don't think he's gotten the most of what he could get out of this defense yet. He's also trying to figure things out. And now if you go back and watch the tape, you see some lollygagging. And it's just not, that's not going to work. But also, this was one of the issues that could have arisen with the departure of some of your leaders from last year. Now, I thought that Isaiah Wakobe and Ahmad Moses coming back would mitigate that to some degree, but it hasn't. It hasn't. And you see the really good defenses, broadcasters talk about this during the calls of the game all the time. They do all the time. And one of the things they harp on is when you see a bunch of hats at the ball. If you see 8, 9, 10, 11 guys all around the ball, chasing the ball. I watch Get Up every morning before I go to work, and they say things like that. I watch many a college football show, and they say, look at all these hats that are around the ball. And you just don't see that right now from SMU. And I wonder if the bye week is going to present those pretty disgusting images. And I say disgusting not in a patronizing way to the players. I say it through the mindset of a player, because you do get disgusted when you see that. You like, it makes you want to just, shrivel up and die when you see, loaf it around. And again, you may not know you're doing it in real time, but the tape never lies. The tape doesn't lie. If you see it on tape, you're going to be motivated to do better. And look, it has bled over to special teams too. And look, special teams, all in all, has just been a disaster in and of itself. But, there are guys that cross over from defense to special teams, and sometimes you'll bring those sorts of bad habits. But if you think back to last year's defense and how suffocating it was and how physically imposing it was, like, it wasn't just a good defense, it was a physically back-breaking defense. Hard hitters, you couldn't escape them. They might get flagged a couple times, but those are some rough riders on that SMU defense last year. And the two inside linebackers set the tone. This year, one of your linebackers is undersized, and both of them haven't played. Like, keep that in mind. Both Alex Kilgore and Zakai Barker, who are supposed to be your de facto leaders because of the position they play, have hardly played. I mean, what have they played? 5% of the season, if that? There's a lot of things that certainly have contributed to the lack of urgency that you see. But there's no time like the present, and a good timed bye week, by the way, to get it right. So if I had to throw a 3A on the bye week goals for today, that would be one of them. But I think the bye week could present the deficiencies out there to the naked eye so you can see, hey, this is where the problem lies. And if then all of a sudden, then it's just about response. Are you going to resent the tape, or are you going to accept the tape and try to change the tape? That's all it is at that point. It's whether, you can obviously control your effort. That's fine. But if somebody presents your deficiencies to you, now you're really at a crossroads. Do I resent what or who is presenting the information to me? Or do I embrace it and try to change it? That's the crossroads that a lot of these SMU defensive players are at now. Do I up the motor, or do I pout and just try to do enough to get by, to keep my spot? And if SMU is as competitive as we believe, if they're as competitive as their coach is, I think they're going to do the former. They'll figure it out, compartmentalize, and get better, and say, I got to get better. And that's how the defense begins to get better over the bye week. But the lack of effort, the lack of urgency, that's really, really got to change. All right, that'll do it for Locked On SMU here today on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Hey, be sure to catch tonight college football kickoff. It is coming out tonight. Fire TV and Locked On's collaboration. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the discussion along with two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and your Locked On local experts. Catch college football kickoff every Thursday, that's tonight, throughout the college football season. It's only on Fire TV. We will close out another week. We'll close out a bye week for SMU tomorrow. I'm Grayson Singleton. Take it easy, everybody.